Rush frontman Geddy Lee has a new memoir. He insisted it had to include his parents' story of surviving the Holocaust.
I just wanted to remind people that this happened.
But it's also about the decades of music.
Some of them are like, oh, cringy.
From one of Canada's most prolific bands, I sat down with Geddy Lee at a classic Toronto venue. One of the reasons, obviously, we chose to do the interview here, we're near Yonge and Bloor, is that the teenage Geddy Lee saw Led Zeppelin in this space.
Right there.
I mean, that's
Second
incredible to imagine that you, first of all, were here watching one of the greatest, bands at the time and of all time. What kind of impact did that have on you?
Oh, that had a tremendous impact. I can say, in all honesty, that for me and Alex Lifeson, my BFF and my partner in crime for a million years, and also for John Rutsey, who was our drummer at the time, it was a life-changing experience. We sat there in the second row, and Jimmy Page didn't walk on stage, he floated on stage. I'm sure there was a cloud under his feet. And it was such a profoundly intense rock experience. And the rafters were literally shaking, and plaster was literally falling off the ceiling. They really brought the house down. And it was a kind of rock music that we had never really heard or felt in that way. And we went back home as three aspiring young goofs trying to be musicians, and we wanted to be like them. So it changed our whole attitude on how we looked at rock music. It really was that profound.
We'll come back to talking about music in a moment, but speaking of your book, let's talk about chapter 3.
Okay.
Which was hard to read. It's a searing account of what your parents, as teenagers, I guess, went through in the death camps, the Nazi death camps. And I've been thinking about it a lot since I read it. What impact do you hope that has on people?
Okay, so one of the things I said to my book agent when I finally did acquiesce and agree to do a memoir was that I had to have a chapter about my parents' experiences, because I felt the personality I am, the way I think, the way I look at the world, was formed, obviously like everyone else, formed by your childhood experiences. But I grew up listening to these stories that affected me very much. And so that was one reason I was insisting on doing a chapter about their lives. Another reason was I wanted to pay homage to my mother, who I was very close with. But the third is that we're living in such dangerous times, and there's so much about that period and what happened to my family that is being forgotten or rewritten. And I felt I just wanted to remind people that this happened, and there were witnesses to it. So for all those reasons, I felt it important to include him in my history. When we were children, my mom would tell us about her experiences in the war. And when our uncles and aunts were over, talk would sometimes turn to theirs as well. It made me angry to hear what they'd seen and suffered at the hands of the Nazis. And when I went up to bed, my rage would boil over into waking dreams. You're
Here today, as you point out in the book, because your parents, against all odds, managed to survive. It is a reminder of all of that, and it is, what modern day lesson is there for us in that? Well, that's complicated, as we're living in incendiary and complicated times. And I just think it's important to remember that hate gets you nowhere, and that my people are a minority, even though sometimes we're not treated as a minority for some strange reason. And, anti-Semitism is on the rise, and we can't forget history.
I don't think of Rush as a political band, but recently the Rush Instagram account made a post about and I think the word sort of monstrous attack by Hamas into Israel, but also again, a quote, innocent souls in Gaza who are also suffering. A lot of people want to stay away from, those kinds of messages. You decided to do this.
Well, it was a hurtful, terrible moment in modern history. And speaking out as a human being, that happened to be a Jewish person. Okay, this happened to Jewish people. So both Alex and I felt it was important to express the pain we were feeling watching this, what could be arguably called one of the worst massacres since World War II of the Jewish people. So it's a complicated issue. I am not a person that wants to be a spokesperson for Israeli politics. It's not really about that. It was just a natural crying out of wow, this is a terrible thing we're watching, and it's still terrible to watch.
Do you want to talk about music?
Yes, please.
Critics have not always embraced Rush. Maybe critics often haven't embraced Rush. And radio stations sometimes didn't know where your music fit in. At what point did you and the other two members of the band feel like you had made it? You had established yourselves. You had achieved the goals that you set out for yourselves?
Well, that's a tough question to answer because of our attitude, feeling that we still had something to learn, somewhere else to go, we could still be better. From a success point of view, I suppose, by the time we got into the late 70s, we were starting to see the fruits of our labor translate into some sort of lifestyle change where we could pay off our mortgages and start living a little easier. But that was never the goal for us. It was never the driving force behind what we did.
Closer to the heart, yes, closer to the heart.
For us, it was more important to keep improving the show, to keep improving our songwriting, to try to get better as individual players. And that's one of the things that bonded us.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that over the years I drove producers and engineers a little crazy, but, well, yeah, let's say I did. I don't want to have to live with errors. Impossible, I know, but what's the effing point of not shooting for the moon?
You describe yourself, I don't know if you use the word perfectionist, but it comes out pretty clearly to me in reading the book that you are a perfectionist, even to a fault, I think you would admit, as you listen to the mixes and remixes of your album. It sounds like a painful process to be working with Geddy Lee as you try to get the perfect sound. Did you ever get the perfect sound? Like, is there do you sit down now at this stage in your life and is there a track or an album you can listen to and think, you know what, like we nailed it?
Thankfully, I do have moments like that. They're not all pain and regret listening to the old music. Some of them are like, oh, cringy. But, not every song I have participated in writing is a masterwork, But I was most proud of the last album.
In the horizon, silhouette of the sun. Stars go spinning round the night. Oh, it is what it is.
One of the nice things about writing a book is that you get to address things that may have annoyed you over the years, and I feel like one of those things is a misunderstanding on the part of some people of the song Free Will, and you say in the book that fans can feel the way they want about a song, but what bothers you about the reaction of that song is that it has been, you would say, wrongly interpreted as Rush's I don't know, embrace of Ayn Rand or libertarianism. So set the record straight on that song.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm very proud of that song, and when we wrote it, I was behind it, and I still am, you know, and it does have a lot to say and a lot of good things to say about choice and about responsibility. But that's the part that some people tend to ignore, and they use the phrase free will as a license to think and do whatever they feel, no matter how hurtful it is, and without consideration of the other people that they're sharing the planet with. But there is a thing called social responsibility that cannot be ignored, and sometimes people tend to use that phrase as an excuse to ignore social responsibility, and I'm not that kind of person, so that was a bee in my bonnet, and I got it off my chest.
So you guys obviously musically were highly respected. I get the sense you were very stubborn as a band as well, about this is what we want to do and we're going to do it. I just wonder, all these years later, when you look back, is there, I don't know, regret's too strong a word, but do you ever think to yourself, man, I wish the 30-year-old me had written like a song that was going to be #1? Like, I wish we'd used all our talents and put out a few songs that would be, you know, big hits.
We didn't know how to do that. We used to joke, and we would look at one of the songs we just finished and say, hey, you know, that could be a hit if somebody else did it. But we were always too quirky. We were always too rhythmically ambitious, too histrionic in our willingness to add a bit of flash or add a bit of complexity. And that's not really conducive to hit singles. So we were just happy with the goals we had set for ourselves, and accepted the fact that we wouldn't know a hit single if we tripped over it.
Geddy Lee also explained why Rush performed with household appliances on stage. His answers in the full 30-minute interview, available on our YouTube page. You can go directly there by scanning the QR code on your screen. A chant used at pro-Palestinian rallies is facing intense scrutiny and an impassioned defense.
We say we want Palestine to be free. It's from the river to the sea.
We'll break down both sides of the debate next. A polarizing slogan now heard in Canada and around the world.
From the river to the sea.
Some call it anti-Semitic.
I question, where do you see the Jews going? That is hate speech.
Others insist it's just a cry for freedom.
We're talking about a place that we call home.
Those potent words now at the center of a criminal charge in Alberta and condemnation of a U.S. lawmaker. Tom Stagler breaks down why they mean different things to different people.
At big pro-Palestinian rallies like this one the other day in Toronto, you'll hear it.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Some see it as a rallying cry. Others consider it a call to eliminate Israel. In Montreal, too, you could hear that phrase over the crowd of thousands.
When we say we want Palestine to be free, it's from the river to the sea.
The U.S. Anti-Defamation League labels it an anti-Semitic slogan. Canada's Federation CJA agrees.
When someone says, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, I question, where do you see the Jews going? That is hate speech, right? Because it is into the sea that they seek to send the Jews.
Some say it's more complicated.
We can't always assume the meaning of this, or how a particular speaker intends it to mean.
We'll get back to that in a moment.
First, it's worth explaining that phrase refers to the land between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, including the two present-day Palestinian territories, the Gaza Strip and the occupied West Bank. But calling for a free Palestine in that entire area is often interpreted as a wish to wipe Israel off the map.
In the 1960s, the Palestine Liberation Organization demanded the region return to an earlier era with only Palestine extending from the river to the sea. The PLO later embraced a two-state solution. But then Hamas co-opted the phrase as a murderous plot against Israel. Palestine is our land and nation from sea to the river, from north to south, said this Hamas leader, and we cannot cede an inch or any part of it. In its founding platform, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party used similar wording to say quite the opposite. Between the sea and the Jordan, it read, there will only be Israeli sovereignty.
To you, what does it mean?
When we talk about from the river to the sea, we're talking about a place that we call home.
Palestinian-American writer Yusuf Munayyer uses that phrase, he says, to reflect the hope of freedom and dignity. He insists the dreams of Palestinians don't have to mean nightmares for Israelis.
From the river to the sea today, there is one state, an Israeli state, that rules over millions of people, Palestinians, who don't have equal rights, who are not free. That's what has to change. That doesn't mean that there should be any violence against Israelis.
U.S. Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib posted, "From the river to the sea is an aspirational call for freedom, human rights, and peaceful coexistence, not death, destruction, or hate."
I'm the only Palestinian American serving in Congress, Mr. Chair, and my perspective is needed here now more than ever.
But the House voted to censure her.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
In Calgary, this activist was charged with a hate-motivated disturbance for encouraging the crowd to chant what police called an anti-Semitic phrase. In an online briefing, Toronto police announced a different approach.
I'm not going to speak generally in terms of other chants, but if we're talking about that specific one, no, it would not meet the threshold of hate propaganda.
The phrase may be considered a rebuke of Israel's policies, but is it anti-Semitic? Dov Waxman says not always. He leads UCLA's Center for Israel Studies.
It is clearly an anti-Zionist slogan. Although I don't support a one-state solution, I don't think it's inherently anti-Semitic to advocate for one.
It sounds like what you're saying is what it means largely depends on who's saying it and what they mean by it. Is that true?
Exactly. And also even where it's said and to whom it's said. So, it's one thing about chanting that in a political rally. It's another thing, going into a synagogue and yelling it.
In such tense times, words carry weight. Meanings and feelings count. Perceptions matter. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
A metal detector has unearthed a piece of history for a Canadian family.
You don't really find that many things with names and regiments or whatever on it, you know what I mean?
The item that was lost and then found 79 years later is in our moment. This is a Canadian pilot's service tag from the Second World War. Flight Lieutenant Frank Chad lost it while he was stationed in England. Almost 80 years later, a British man found it, returned it to the soldier's family in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and tonight, it's our moment.
So this is the tag that was returned to us. Darren is restoring an old mansion in Stourhead, England, and he came across this tag that had my dad's name on it. He did some Googling, he found Dad's obituary, and reached out to the funeral home, who in turn contacted us. This is Dad's flight bag. You might not be able to see it, but it's the same number on the back of his tag, thinking that's his service ID.
You don't really find that many things with names and regiments or whatever on it. It was exciting for me as well to actually sit there and think somebody's going to be happy if it is this person's relative. It's not just part of the history, it's part of their family, so it would mean more to them than it just sitting in a box here.
For somebody to take the time to go that extra step to find the family, I thought was pretty amazing.
Well, a shout out to that British man who is not a metal detector, but a detectorist. And if you want to see a quirky British TV drama, look up the one with exactly that name, The Detectorists. You can watch The National anytime on the free CBC News app and The National's YouTube channel. I'm Ian Hanomansing. See you tomorrow night.